So in this video, I'm going to go ahead and take this standard, this simple product that we have right here, and I'm going to turn it into a variable product. Let's say now we're going to offer fudge in two different sizes, 4-ounce and 8-ounce containers. So I need to go ahead and change this so that people can choose between 4 and 8 ounces and that it will also automatically update the price. So let's go back into our product here. And you're going to notice here we've got our SKU, our regular price, our sale price, listed here under simple product. When I come to variable product, this stuff goes away. Okay, let me show you why that does that here in a minute. You remember I mentioned that we always have to have attributes before we can create variations on a product. When I added attributes here, I added a custom product attribute, which is only valid for this one product. Now, if I had attributes and they were going across the whole product line, like the fudge here, and let's say I went ahead and put in those attributes, but now all of a sudden something changes. Maybe now instead of 8 ounces on the fudge, it's going to be 10 ounces. Okay? Price isn't changing or anything. I just need to change that attribute. Okay, well, if I had defined that attribute as a custom product attribute for each product, I'd have to go in and change each single product. But instead of doing that, actually, you can define global attributes here. So I'm not talking about global add-ons, I'm talking about attributes right here. And these are global attributes. These are attributes that you're going to be able to access anywhere. And that if you make changes to these attributes later, they're going to cascade throughout the system, as long as you don't change the slug. And I'm going to talk about that in a minute. So before I actually go ahead and create this variable product, I'm going to go ahead and create some attributes for the variable product. So let's go ahead and come in here. And I'm going to, you see, we have a couple here, size, and then down here is fudge size. Already we're not using, this was something we were using earlier, we're not using that right now. Here you're going to see we have size, quantity, and this is for different choices that we have for the vendor pricing. But I'm going to go ahead and add in a completely new set of attributes. I'm going to go ahead and just call this test attributes. Now, I could define the slug if I wanted to, and that's the machine readable name. Now, one thing that I must never do, or that must not be done in the system, once an attribute has been defined, and once an attribute has been used somewhere, you must not change this slug. When you're editing when you edit the attributes, if you change the slug, it will break and it will no longer, not only will it not just update those attributes, but those attributes won't show up on those products anymore. It will completely break the entire system. So whatever you do, once an attribute has been created, don't change the slug. You can change the name of the attribute, you can change all of the different items in the attributes, that's fine, but don't ever change this. You don't actually have to define this. The system will automatically create it. As I said, this is just the machine readable name, and it's never going to be seen out front. So let's go ahead and scroll down a little bit further. I got type right here, which is either a select or a text, and you want to leave this as select. Text in the system would just be an area for people to write in some text, and that's not what we want here in this particular attribute. So I'm just going to go ahead and click select. Default sort order is just custom ordering, name or term ID. Just leave it as custom ordering. None of these are important. All you need to do right up here is just define the name. Click add attribute. That's going to go ahead and add that to the list. Now that we've added that attribute to the list, we defined an attribute's name. You see now we've got test attribute. But now I need to give it some items. So let's go ahead and click on configuring items. And this is what's going to show up in the select box. Once again, we have a slug down here, and this slug will need to remain constant. Always remember, don't change the slug once it's been defined, and the system will define it. So I'm going to go ahead and put in option 1. I'm not going to give it a parent. I could go ahead and put in a top option and then have sub options under that. This description is only going to be used here, so it is only for internal reference is all it's for. But I'm going to go ahead and put in option 1, and let's say it is 4 ounces. Oops, sorry. 4 ounces, and the price is going to be, for that, would be $5. Okay. I'm going to add that attribute. That's going to add that in there. Then I'm going to come over here, type in option 2. That's going to be 8 ounces. And that's going to be $10. Okay. Now, I haven't defined any pricing here, just to let you know. This isn't going to do anything. This is not going to change the price. This is going to do nothing. This is the title that's going to show up for the person to select. I've got to tell WooCommerce what to do with this. As I said, this can get a little confusing what I just did here, because you're seeing I'm giving the option a name, then I'm giving it a size, then I'm giving it a price. This isn't some magic code right here. This is just what's going to show up in that little box that the person's going to select. This is going to have nothing to do, this is going to do nothing to the product whatsoever. I'm going to tell WooCommerce what to do with this here in just a minute. So now we've got our product attributes added, and then we'll come back out here now and take a look at the interface real quick, and you'll see now here we got our test attributes. Here's the machine readable name. It's a select box, it's custom ordering, and now you'll see we have our items listed down here. Okay, so let's go back over to our product. Now the first thing I'm going to need to do is go ahead and I'm going to need to refresh this, because now that I've changed and made attributes here, I need to refresh this so now this system is going to be able to reference that. Once I make a changes such as adding attributes or a category, if I want that to be reflected in the editing screen, if I already have the editing screen open, I need to go ahead and refresh that. Okay, so now that I've refreshed that, now I'm going to go ahead and change it and make it a variable product. Come down here, click variable product. All of a sudden all this will change. All I'll have is the SKU, but now I'll have this over here, variations. I click on this, you're going to see it's going to say link all variations, because up here in the attributes we added attributes, this custom attributes, but I don't want these here anymore. We're not going to use these. So I'm going to go ahead and click remove. Now that I've removed the attributes, I need to save the product. Okay. Whenever removing, changing attributes, when you add attributes, before you can add variations, you must save the attributes to the system. So now that I've removed the attributes, I come back down here to variations. You see it says before adding variations, before adding variations, add and save some attributes. So let's go back up here to the attributes, and I want to add in those attributes, those global attributes that I put in before. So I'm going to come down to the select list and come down to test attributes, and then click add. I'm going to choose visible on the product page, which is going to make them show up here under the additional information tab. I don't have to put that there if I don't want to. And then I'm going to click use for variations. This will not show up unless it's a variable product. Now I can select all terms, or I can come in here and choose which terms I want. I'm going to select all terms because I want them both used. I don't have to use all the terms. Just because I define them doesn't mean that I have to use them on all of them on that product. I can just go ahead and select one or whatever I want to use. But here we've got two. I mean, obviously, if it's a variable product, you're going to be using more than one, of course. But if I defined 5 or 6 and I only needed to use 3, I could just choose those 3 that I needed to use. Once I'm done, you used to have to go up and click save up here, but you don't have to anymore. Now you can go ahead and save those attributes right from there. Great, now we've saved that. Let's come down to variations. Now we've got an item here that says link all variations. And if I do that, that's going to take all the variations and it's going to go ahead and it's going to give me all these variations real quick in a nice little defined boxes. Okay, but I'm going to go ahead and add them manually so you can see how to do this. First thing, default selection. If I have this right here where it says no default test attribute, when a person first brings up the product, they're going to have the select box to choose between those attributes, but they're not going to have the add to cart button until they do that. So if you don't want the add to cart button to appear until they make a selection, that's fine. Do that. But if you want them to, then you need to define a default option. And I'm going to go ahead and define the default option as the smaller bag here. Now I haven't added a variation here. I've just told it that the default selection on the variation tab, because it has attributes, should be this one. Now I'm going to add a variation. So I click add variation, and now it brings up this screen. I need to go ahead and define that this is for option 1. Now you see we've got SKU. Now for option 1, I cannot put anything in here, and it's just going to show the SKU is just going to come up as simple product 1. So I'm not going to put anything in there. I'm going to go ahead and leave the SKU alone. Regular price here, I'm going to put in $5, and for the weight, I'm going to put in 0.25. Okay. Now I need to add another variation for the second one. So I'm going to click add variation again. It's going to save this one real quick, and it's going to add another one here. I'm going to choose our $10 one. And now this time, I'm going to change this to simple product 1 dash, and I'm going to put 8-ounce. So we can go ahead and define that so we know there's a difference between the two. So variation price, that's going to be $10, and the weight is going to be 0.50 pounds. Okay, now we have given this, we've given this product two variations, and we've given it a default selection for those variations. So let's go ahead and go up and let's update this product. And now let's go ahead and take a look at our new variable product, because now we're done. We actually have a variable product now. So I'm going to come out here. I'm going to refresh this page. And now you're going to notice right above the Add to Cart button that we have a selection, okay, for our test attributes. That's whatever the attribute's called is going to come up over here. And we already have something selected because we define that default selection. We could clear that selection if we want to, and oh, look at that. The Add to Cart button disappears. And if we had not specified a default selection, this is what the person would see when they would first come to the product. We do not advise this because when people come here and they don't see an Add to Cart button, a lot of times people will just stop. And they will not know what to do. They will not pay attention to choose an option. They will not pay attention to that all. They will just look and go, oh, no Add to Cart button. Something's wrong with their site. So always remember to make a default selection so that you always see the Add to Cart button here. But now I can go ahead and change that to 10, and now you'll notice immediately the SKU is changed, and now the price on that is $10. So very simple, very direct and to the point to go ahead and create a variable product. We need to define some attributes, and then we need to add those attributes to the product, and then we need to down here define what those attributes do to the product, how they change the product. And then we need to go ahead and define a default selection so that we can be sure that our Add to Cart button is there when the person brings up the page. One more thing real quick underneath here, stock quantity. You can also, because variable products are going to be, you're going to have selections of 4-ounce products and a certain amount of 8-ounce products, you can control the stock quantity directly for the variations just by adding the amount in there. And when you do, the system will automatically go ahead and count down the amount of products as they get sold here, and those will be reflected here in the product variations. So if you want to remove product variations and take it back to a simple product, we would just reverse what we've done here. The first thing we would begin doing is we would come down here to our variations, and we would go ahead and remove those. Go ahead and remove them both. And once they are removed, you can go ahead and leave the default selection and ignore that. I'm going to come over here to attributes, remove the attribute, come back over here to general, change this to a simple product, add in our price, put in a sale price if I want, and then come back up here and click update. And now I've taken this from a variable product to now back to a simple product. And you can add in as many variations on that product as you want. And they can be there. They don't have to variate price. They can just variate size. They could variate any number of things. As I said, it doesn't have to variate price. Anything that you see down there in that variable products area, it can go ahead, it can be variated for each item. It could be nothing. They could be the same price, the same everything, but let's say that, like I said, if you were selling t-shirts, one was gray and one was blue, that would be a product variation, and you would define that there. Only when you defined it, you would just define the name of the variation. You would not have to define anything else that would be changed, because you just need to know that that product is blue. It's not going to change a price. It's not going to change an SKU. It's not going to change the weight. You don't have to worry about that. So in that type of a case, you would just go ahead and define the name, and that would be enough. You wouldn't have to define anything else on the variation. You just have to add those variations in. So as I said, pretty direct and to the point.